Ready? Smile for the camera.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome again to Friday. As usual, if you're there, do say hello. Oh dear, stumbling over my words already. That's not a good sign. Do say hello. Are you saying hello as well? Or are you unimpressed with the way I'm speaking? Need to go for a snooze. Good morning, Eva. Good morning, Maria. Good morning, Jane from sunny downtown Romford. Yep, we have sun today. It's streaming in through the back of the house today. Good morning, Jess. Good morning, Jay. Wait, you're going to say good morning to people, or are you going to hide under the blanket? Going to hide under the blanket. I don't blame him. Good morning, Melanie. Good morning. Who have I missed? Chantel. Good morning, Elizabeth. Good morning, Anne. Good morning, Alex. Good morning. Good morning. Lots of lovely people. Welcome to Friday. Good morning, Carla. Good morning, Sylvie. You're going to hide under the blanket? Yeah. There we are. Right. Pay attention. I'm going to test you later. Good morning, Christine. Good morning, Debbie. Good morning, Deborah. Good morning, Senia. Good morning, Karen. Lots of lovely people. Bonjour, Aurélie. Bonjour. Welcome to Friday, everyone. Yeah, Eric says hello too. You say hello too? Or are you just going to be good and go for a snooze? Because that would be very useful. Much as your singing is delightful, it doesn't really help the talk. Good morning, Elizabeth. Yes, Eric's here with me and Pete is here as well. So good morning from the Patterson household. Christine, sounds like I'm taking a register. Does it? Present. Good morning, Nancy from the USA. Good morning, Sue. Yeah, I know. Yes, good morning from the Patterson household. We have a son here as well, teenage son, but he's upstairs on the computer doing his online lessons. She says, hopefully. No, he is. I checked. No, he's a good lad. He's up there doing his lessons. So, gosh, nearly the end of February now as well. But hope is in sight if we all behave ourselves. We could be out and about by the summer. Fingers crossed. Elizabeth, I love that tapestry to your right. Okay, that's that way, isn't it? That is from the very lovely Wendy Andrews. It is a wall hanging of the crone goddess. Do have a look at her artwork. It is fantastic. She does wall hangings and prints and cards and all sorts of things. Good morning, Erin. Excuse me, drinking my tea. Well, today's subject is a fun one. New one for me. Haven't talked about it before. Something actually that I've worked with for a long time. But it was mentioned by one of the... You are going to sing the whole way through this, aren't you? Did you want some tea? You're not going to have any. It was mentioned by one of our students last week. And then one of my lovely health guardians created something with it, decorating as well. And I thought, you know, I work with that all the time, but I've never written about it and I've never talked about it. So today's talk will be all about the contents of this jar. You can see that. Buttons. Good morning, Rachel. This actually, although the jar is mine, the contents have a very, very long history. Good morning, Leslie. When I was a child, my grandmother, my mum's mother, lovely, lovely lady, she had a button tin. And when I was a child, I would play with the buttons. I can remember now sitting at her dining room table. It always had this really thick kind of woolly tablecloth on it. And I used to make patterns with the buttons and I would make pictures. I'd sit there for hours just making images from them. So when she sadly passed away, my mum said to me, what would you like of hers? And I said, oh, just one thing. All I want is the button tin. So the button tin came to me, and I took it out of Tim's. Tim's a little bit ropey, and all the buttons went in here. And I've added a few bits of my own buttons over the last few years. But there are a lot of buttons in here that have so much memories for me. There are buttons that I recognise playing with as a child. I recognise the shapes and the colours and the designs. So it holds a huge amount of memories for me. But I've always worked with buttons in magic. Have you done that as well? Have you? You work with them too. That's good. Maria's mum had a button tin. Yep. Sue's got a button tin. Contents belong to my mum and my grandfather. Karen's gran had a button tin. Loved it. I've got it now with lots of buttons. Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? That something so simple, but it's handed down from generation to generation and carries so many memories with it. Maria's just thinking of poppets now. Yes, we will cover them. Jane, your earrings have reminded me. I meant to order a darning mushroom. Yes, I have. These are from AK Skipsy. You can find her on Etsy. She makes the most amazing earrings out of wood, all hand painted. They are very, very creative. Orally, he's so cute. He is very cute, but he is a total git. Very, very badly behaved. Or should I say, not properly trained. That's absolutely our fault. Nancy has buttons from her grandmother and her mother. Excellent. Tess, love the little witch in the corner of your screen. Oh, what, this one here? Magic. Yes, I've got a new thing with my website along the top and the witch in the bottom. It's magic. Just actually, messing about with computer stuff. It's all part of the software that I use to go live with. Yeah, Tess used to play with her nana's buttons. Diane is the holder of the family button collection. I like that. Sue is owning up to actually swallowing a few of them. Yeah, please don't put buttons in your mouth. I know little children do, don't they? Please definitely don't swallow buttons. It's not good for you. But they hold an incredible amount of magic. And I think I was probably, it was the inspiration too. I am very, very lucky to have signed my 24th book contract with Moon Books this week. And it will be a book on household magic. So it's going to cover things like working with buttons, working with all sorts of things in the house, working with all sorts of mundane, usual objects, but creating magic from them. So this was sort of lots of inspiration, really, for writing and talking about this. So it will be up on my blog afterwards as well. Maria says I should get a tin as all the spares end up in a drawer. Yeah, they do, don't they? You find buttons all over the place. Yeah, I put it in a jar because the tin was a bit old and falling apart. But there are so many memories in here. Jane, that's a lot of books. Yes, plus the Llewellyn one, that's 25 books now. Although I have 3 contracts with Moon Books that aren't actually written out there yet. So they're in the process. Thank you, people. Thank you. Yeah, no, it is an absolute honour to be able to work with Moon Books. They are fantastic. Right, let's get rid of D. And let's focus on the buttons. So, I mean, I have some, look, 95p. All sorts. There's a nice 1970s one for you. There's a few belt buckle things in here as well, too, some odd things. But buttons of all shapes, all sizes, all colours. Lots of flowers. That one's got flowers on it too. But all sorts of cut. Oh, that's a big 8-9. Oh, look at that one. That's a real 1980s one there. Love that one. Just take me back to the 1980s. Oh, that's huge button. So loads and loads of different buttons, lots of different styles, and of course 2 holes, 4 holes, all variations. Oh, there's an old. belt buckle in there too. So all sorts of bizarre things in there. Oh, some with the Eye of Horus on. Look, that was from my daughter's college project. So all sorts of buttons. Abiento Aurelie, thank you for joining us briefly. The replay will be up. Sam's book arrives today. Yes, I have a copy of that, Maria. I got an advance copy of that. Very exciting. Oh dear. Kay, good morning, Kay. She's casted me onto the TV today. Oh dear. I hope I look all right that big. I like being small on phones because then you don't see all the details. Jane found a nice buckle in her button tin, perfect for a witchy hat band. Oh, that one would be, wouldn't it? That one would be perfect for it. Oh, now there's a thought. Thank you for that, Jane. Yeah, brilliant. I love all these ideas, all this inspiration. So, buttons. I use them a lot. I use them a lot in my magical workings, particularly in things like witch bottles and spell bags, journey pouches. I've actually got a button in my hedge witch riding journey pouch. Good morning, Trudy. But what are their magical properties? So I've drawn on my own feelings for a lot of it. You might see them in another way. There's a lot of folklore, bizarrely, about buttons as well. So go with your intuition, as always. Christine says, we have a 55-inch screen and I watch your chats on YouTube. Oh, no! No, I don't want to be that big, Christine. God, I'm going to have to put a bit more makeup on, aren't I? Particularly with my good old menopausal skin. Oh, no, we don't want to be that big. Good morning, Denise. No, we don't mention the cricket, Denise. We're not talking about the cricket at all because it's just far too embarrassing. My husband's a cricket fan. I get updates throughout the day. Kay says, it's because I have my mum with me after a fall, so you're cheering her up. Hi, Kay's mum. Hope you feel better soon. Be careful. So, magical properties. I think really, for me, it starts with colour magic. And I've talked about colour magic before. But, I mean, they come in all sorts of colours. Oh, look at that one. So, red, passion, energy, power. Oh, what else we got in here? Oh, digging deep. Oh, they're all going to be the same colour now, aren't they? Blue. I would use a blue button for healing. There's a brown one there. I would use that for home and hearth, for grounding, for stability. What else have we got in here? All I'm going to be able to find now is black and brown ones, isn't it? But a white one. So I would use that as a multi-purpose, actually. I would use that for all sorts of magic. But white is good for peace. It's good for calming. It's good for cleansing. So we've got here. Oh, we've got a yellow one here. So I would use a yellow button for, it's even got a bit of thread still on it. Happiness, solar magic. Well, there's a nice yellow one too. Happy colour, isn't it? Happy colour. Pink one. So I would use a pink one for friendship. I would also use it for love and peace as well, I think. Comfort. Sue loves the sound of buttons, yeah. There you go. Sound of buttons. Karen, I make Christmas trees out of buttons for the grandbabies. Oh, what a fantastic idea. Fantastic idea. So you can use them in colour magic. I'm just trying to get that one. Oh, there's a nice brown one there as well, which would be home and hearth for me. But you can use them for, you know, what you associate the colours with. Go with your intuition on it. Jane found a button with 4-leaf clover on, made it into a brooch. Grotty colour though, needs painting. When I first got the tin of buttons from my grandmother, I picked one of the buttons that I really remember, and it was a black one with red polka dots, and my cousin made it into a brooch for me, which was absolutely brilliant, and I have that up in my jewellery box, and that's really special because that has so many memories for me. So they do work well as jewellery. So colour magic is really useful for buttons. Eva's grandmother taught her to play poker as a child with buttons. She was a cool grandmother. I have never mastered poker. So what a cool grandmother. Kay, my mum had a box the size of a Quality Street box full of buttons. That's pretty much what my grandmother's tin was, one of those sweet tins full. She used to go to jumble sales to find her buttons. So did my grandma. Oh, and big childhood memories of going to jumble sales on a Saturday morning. For anyone in America, that's kind of like a yard sale, but in a hall. Loads of secondhand junk, basically, all for sale. And it used to be in church halls and village halls. Every Saturday morning, my grandmother and her cousin, my Auntie Belle, used to take all of the grandchildren. I mean, there was about 8 of us, I think, all varying ages. And we used to go to all the jumble sales. And we were all given, 20p or something, let loose on the jumble sale. The amount of rubbish we used to come home with. Games and toys with bits missing and broken things, but to us it was magic. It was amazing, the things that we used to come home with. But my nan and her cousin, they used to get all their clothes from there. And my Auntie Belle, who was just an amazing character, she used to task all of us kids with going through all the secondhand handbags and purses on the stalls to make sure there wasn't any money in there. Brilliant characters they were. But yeah, jumble sales were brilliant. And I still love charity shopping now. A lot of my clothes come from charity shops. All of the furniture you can see behind me has come from charity shops. Brilliant places. Good morning, Lani. Bring my tea back. Sue has a necklace out of copper wire and green buttons. Beautiful. Yeah, I have got some button necklaces. Christine inherited a button tin. Found a beautiful Celtic brooch in it and has a huge crystal in the middle. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, they hide secret treasures. Kay says, yeah, cut the car boot sales. Before car boot sales, we used to have jumble sales, and I have such brilliant memories of them. Jane's nan taught her how to play 3-card brag and back horses. I was only 9. Excellent. She also taught me how to read tea leaves and cards. Yeah, oh, brilliant. Yes, Nancy, beautiful memories. I do. I spent a lot of time with my grandmother when I was a child. Absolutely fantastic memories of her and my Auntie Belle. Absolutely brilliant. Karen, when my mum died, I took 100 pairs of shoes to the charity shop and found out later they'd been stuffed with money. Oh, no. Oh, no. Definitely worth checking. Check first. Yeah, Kay did that with money purses. Buy a purse for 10, 50 pence and find paper money in it. Yeah, that's what my Auntie Belle used to get. She used to get us to check them. And if we found any with money in, we'd have to give it to her and she'd go and pay 10p for it. Brilliant fun. But yeah, I mean, you work buttons. So many memories. We could talk for hours just about the memories. So button magic, I use a lot for color magic. So if I'm working with a spell and I need something with a bit of color, buttons are brilliant. They're small, they're cheap, they're easy to work with, and they come in all different colors and they bring that color magic with them. I also think as well, they keep things together. That's what a button does, isn't it? You button it up and it keeps things together. So it's really good for any spell work, for keeping situations together, keeping issues together. If you work that kind of magic, it's very good for keeping people together. It brings things together, it keeps things together. So for any kind of spell work that you want to bring things together, pop a button in there and that will bring that intent with it. Sue bought a bag of beads and buttons in a jumble sale. When she got home, there was a diamond ring in the bottom. Wow! And no one ever claimed it. Fantastic. Yeah, Maria's asking, did you get it evaluated? Yeah, amazing find. See, magic. Lots of magic in old stuff. We do love old stuff. Everything's got a history, hasn't it? Everything's got a history to it. That's why I like buying all the things. In the furniture from the charity stores, it's all got a history to it. It's got a story to tell, which I find quite fascinating. And generally, with the older furniture, it's better quality than a lot of the newer stuff too. And you don't have to build it from flat pack, which is always a bonus. But you can use buttons for binding. If you work bindings, if that's your thing, then a button is excellent for keeping the binding in place because that's what buttons do. They bind things together. I also think that buttons are good for gossip, not creating gossip. Buttons are really good to work in spells to keep gossip out by buttoning up the talk. So the button is really good for stopping gossip. Use it in your spells to stop the gossip because it buttons their lips. Button up, Ernie. Buttons their lips together. Sue took the ring for insurance purposes worth £700. Wow, excellent bargain. We're all going to be going through handbags and purses in the charity shops now, aren't we? Although I'm sure they do that already. I think they've got a bit wise to things now. So really good for anti-gossip spells, buttons, for keeping your lips shut, buttoning them up. I'm just going to sit here and play with the buttons. You lot carry on. Finding all sorts of things in here that I'd forgotten about. Yeah, all kinds of buttons. Oh, there's a metal button. That's cool. So I think as well for secrets, if you're working any magic in the same way that a button works for anti-gossip spells, it does just the same for keeping secrets buttoned up. So if you have any secrets that you don't want to get out, pop a button in with the magical working and it will keep the secrets in. Teresa, never even thought about buttons. Totally makes sense now. I'll have to get over my fear of buttons. It's funny that I worked with a lady that had a fear of buttons. None of her clothes ever had buttons on them because she had a fear of buttons. It is an actual thing, isn't it? It's bizarre. No, it's not. It's a strange one. Yeah, get over your fear of buttons. Use them in magic. They're really useful. Debbie says, is that where the old saying comes from, button your lip? I know that saying too. Whether it is connected with buttons, it makes sense to me. You button up your coat, you button up your shirt, button up your lip. Yeah, it would make sense to me, Debbie. Jane, can't wait to get back to the Chazzers and the hunt for treasure. Yes, oh, I cannot wait to get out to the charity shops. I've got a list of stuff I want to look for. Okay. Trawling through buttons can bring back actual memories. Yeah, it is. A lot of these buttons do date back. Well, most of these buttons date back to my grandma. So, wow, there's some old ones. I think these ones are mother of pearl. Oh, coming off the thing. Yes, there's some old mother of pearl ones there. Very old ones by the looks of it. And I would imagine too that some of those buttons from my grandmother would have been from my great-grandmother as well. There are some really old ones in there, and they have so many memories. Tess says, where would you find the folklore about buttons? Is there a book? Not yet, Tess. I have got some folklore stuff noted down, and it will go on my blog today. I don't know of a book particularly with them in. You could Google it and see. But I have got some folklore stuff that will be going up on my blog later, and I'm going to talk about that in a second as well. But it will be in my household magic book eventually. Melanie, our charity shop was on the ball. All gold and silverware was sold elsewhere so we could hit our weekly target. Yeah, I think charity shops have got a bit wise to stuff now, haven't they? They've also noticed the labels on clothing and things, and so they price it accordingly, which is fair enough. Fair enough. Maria says, must be good for abundance spells. I actually think the smaller ones are good for abundance spells. I don't know why. That just makes sense to me. The smaller ones would be better for abundance. But yes, that would work brilliantly, Maria. Christine loves the old mother of pearl buttons. I've just found another mother of pearl button with a brass covering to it as well. Brilliant. Sue, first trip will be to charity shop. Yes, I will be. As one of the first places we will be going to when the shops open up will be to the charity shops. Kay says some of the old buttons might have good value. They have lots of value to me because they've got memories. So I will hang on to them, and it will go to my daughter. Well, eventually as well. But, there's one that looks like a hedgehog. I could, I am just going to go through all these. So I can spend the rest of the day going through it. Maria thinks my mum's tin is still at the house. Should go when I can and bring it here. Oh, absolutely, Maria. They are so special. Apart from all of the memories, they are really good in magic. So we've got binding, we've got secrets, we've got gossips. I actually keep a button in my journey pouch. So whenever I'm working with my hedge riding, there's a button that I use as well. Because for me, a button is a threshold. It is, just carry on delving in here. I use the button in my journey pouch for the purpose of opening up doorways and closing them afterwards. There's a nice green one. So it works as a doorway to the thresholds. You open the door when you go on your journey, and you close the door behind you afterwards. There's a nice plastic 1970s one. Buttons used for opening and closing fabric. And I'm very aware, actually, it's just struck me that I have no buttons on today. I'm talking about buttons and I don't have any buttons on. That was a bit of an error getting dressed this morning, wasn't it? Oh yeah, Pete's got buttons on his shirt. He's doing the button thing for me. Eric's got a t-shirt on today, but he's got no buttons either. So a button is used for opening and closing fabric. So why not use it as a spiritual portal? Use it as a threshold. Use it as a way of entering and opening the door and then closing. So for journeying, for hedge riding, even for Akashic records, use it as your threshold, as your doorway into the spiritual realm. Jane says charity shops are probably the only ones left that can afford special business rates. Jeff, you might be right there. Might be right there. Oh, I found a toggle. Now that brings back 1970s memories of your duffel coat. I love a duffel coat. I'd like a duffel coat now, actually. Christine, I find that the posh areas have great charity shops. I used to go to Hungerford and got some amazing things for the kids in their shops. Yes, if I want posh charity shops, I head over to Petersfield. Because they have posh charity shops. Maria says, what's written on your t-shirt? Oh, one of my heroes. It says, just one more thing. Anybody pick up on that one? Who's this? Who's this? One of my absolute acting TV heroes. It's Columbo. It's Peter Falker's Columbo. I absolutely love Columbo. I absolutely love Peter Falk. So Columbo is on my chest today. Kay says, because you open up a jacket and close it too. Yeah, shirts, cardigans, jackets. Yes, people, Columbo. I do. I love him. You open up your coat. You open. That looks a bit like a flasher. Sorry about that. You open your coat. And I think the buttons are making me a bit loony this morning. Yeah, you open and close your coat, you open and close your blouse, your cardigan. So for me, buttons are really good for threshold, really good for journeying and spiritual doorways. Teresa loved a duffel coat. Yeah, I do like a good duffel coat. Tess, what is hedge riding? And is this in one of your books? Or is that a topic for another day? Hedge riding is journeying into the other worlds. So it is, it's a hedge witch's way of journeying into the other worlds. The hedge is always considered as a boundary between the two worlds. So it is about journeying into the lower world, the middle world or the upper world, lower world, Asgard, Midgard. So it is about journeying, meditation of sorts. I think I have talked about it. I think it is in one of my videos. I think I've already talked about it. But it is in a couple of my books, I think, Tess. I think it's in the Kitchen Witchcraft one. And I think there's probably a blog about it as well. I'll find some links for you later. But it is journeying, basically, travelling to the other worlds. Kay's mum made her an amazing duffel coat with a flannelette lining. Ooh, there's posh. Finding quite a few mother of pearl buttons, actually. They must be. Oh, look, here's a nice, now that's got to have been off one of my nan's coats, covered in sort of blue felt material. Debbie still has a duffel coat. I am jealous. Maria thought my t-shirt was Tom Baker. No, I do like Tom Baker, but no, Columbo is one of my heroes. I absolutely loved Peter Falk. I am very honoured to have one of Peter Falk's sketches signed by him. He was an amazing artist. If you Google Peter Falk artwork, you can have a look. Absolutely amazing artist. Jane says buttons could be good for closure situations. Absolutely. Now you're thinking. Now you got it. Yes. absolutely good for closure of situations. I think as well, I mean, I've been doing this, and there's a nice orange one. Orange, I would use that in success spells, because orange is the colour that I go to for success. I really want to tip these out, actually. Tip them out all over the desk. Probably not good with Eric here. But the noise. So making the noise, lots of noise. So you could add buttons to a tub or a box to create a rattle, to help you clear negative energy, or to create sound for your meditation journeys. Sound is brilliant for clearing negative energy, and the sound of the buttons would be brilliant. It would be a bit like one of those rain sticks. It would make that kind of noise. So it would be absolutely brilliant for just sort of tipping back and forth when you're meditating, to kind of get you into meditative state. Got a little glass one here. Very sweet. So noise, you can add them to a tub or box to help create a rattle, which would be really good. Christine, my friend had a flasher, and she said if that's all you've got, button up that. Oh, how embarrassing for him. Melanie, love, yeah, Peter Falk Columbo brings back loads of memories. Used to watch him with my granddad. Yeah, I love Peter Falk. We do. He started making Columbo. The first pilot episode was 1966, and I think the last made-for-TV film was 2008, something like that. So it went for, well, 10 series actually it went for. Not that I've got them all on DVD, because I have. Yeah, love Columbo. So we've got a nice funky one here, a little silver one with weaving on it. See, that's got a weaving pattern on it. So for me, that would be brilliant for the Web of Weird. That would be absolutely brilliant for weaving, for manifesting, for bringing things into your life. Brilliant, love it. Closing. So add a button to your magical working to bring about closure, whether it's spiritual, mental, or physical. You can bring closure to whatever situation or issue by adding a bubble. Adding a bubble? Adding a button to it. Oh, there's another mother of pearl one with natural bits on the back. And of course, this one, mother of pearl, so you'd bring in the energies of mother of pearl as well. Double whammy. Kay says, thinking outside the box here. Very outside the button box. But can buttons be used with moon magic? Thinking of button moon. We're off the button moon. We followed Mr. Spoon. Oh dear. The buttons are making me loony. What's going on? That would be a brilliant moon magic button, wouldn't it? That would be absolutely brilliant, Kay, wouldn't it, for working moon magic? Because you've got a representation of the moon, and it's mother of pearl, which is very much linked to the moon. So yeah, we like thinking outside the box. Definitely think outside the button box. Eva said last summer I talked about it. Yes, hedge riding. I'm sure I've talked about it. You will find it on my YouTube channel. Trudy's just Googled Peter Falk's art. Yeah, do Google it, because he was an amazing artist. Maria says, I used to like the feel of them through my fingers. Yeah, I'm going to have to step away from the button box. Oh, no, I found another. Oh, 1960s one there. Mother of Jane says, mother of pearl shirt buttons would make nice little stars around your big moon button. Perfect. Christine, mother of pearl for water works too. Yeah, as they come from the sea. Oh, big water element there with mother of pearl. See, well, we're on a roll here. Oh, I've got some tiny little buttons, press stud buttons there that look quite old. Anyway. So closing, yes, bring about closure, whether it's spiritual, mental, or physical. And protection. Quite a lot of us, I'm sure, use shielding. And some of us will use a cloak, a visual cloak, to visualize cloak to bring about protection. So what about protection with your cloak? And then you do up the button. So buttons close garments. They keep out the cold. They keep out the dirt. So it makes them excellent to use in protection spells. And I would probably go for a black button in a protection spell, because that color I associate with protection. But because buttons, one of their function is to keep garments closed, to keep out dirt and cold. So I think they would work brilliantly well in protection spells. Buttons bring out the child in us, says Trudy. Yeah, I'm there, Trudy. They're really affecting my mood today. I might just spend the entire day playing with them. Square one, little red square one. Sue, I would put them on the floor and sit there for hours rummaging through them. I think I may have trouble getting up on the floor now. Yeah, tip them on the tables. Definitely tip them on the table. Oh, that's an interesting one. Big old silvery coloured one there. It is metal. You have no idea what it says on it. Latin words by the looks of it, with a big lion in the centre. Don't research that one. Kay, if you find enough mother of pearl buttons, I could be the Cockney Queen. I could, couldn't I? The Pearly Queen. No, I think you have to be born in a certain place in London to qualify for that. So protection, they work really well for. I think charms as well. Buttons are so handy. The size, the shape. You could work a really good charm with a button. Use them as jewellery. I say I've got a brooch. I've got buttons strung on a necklace. I've got button earrings. So buttons created into a charm as jewellery can bring their magic in. Maybe even a mala style necklace strung with buttons to help you focus on meditation. And if you wear them around your neck, you could put particular buttons on there to associate with your throat chakra for communication. You could have blue buttons around the necklace, but make a charm out of one and fill it with your intent, and you could wear it on a chain or as earrings or on a bracelet, or just sew it onto a garment, and it would bring the magic with it. So they make brilliant charms because they're so easy to use. Maria says, when seeing buttons, you can sew and whipping, it's called, behind the button your intention. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, Maria. That works really well. I'm digging down because I've added buttons to this. So a lot of the buttons are right at the bottom. Oh. Now that one has got a little crown on it, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was from my dad's old police uniform when I was much younger, but you never know. Anyway, I am getting so distracted. I do apologise. Willow, I feel a new collection coming on. Doesn't take up much room either. No, it doesn't. It's all, keep it in a tin, keep it in a jar. They are fascinating. Christine, nothing nicer than a big shiny button as a palm stone to chill out with. Yes, there are some brilliant ones here, and they've got different textures. And yes, you could meditate and keep it as a palm stone. Brilliant, brilliant ideas. So many fantastic ideas from you guys. I am going to write them all down. Kay, you could create a rainbow bracelet for chakra balancing. Brilliant. Yes, absolutely brilliant. Christine says military buttons are lovely. Still have some from my military days. Yes, because they have such a history, don't they? Which is brilliant. And I also think buttons as well are good for wishing on. With the history and the special memories that the buttons seem to hold, I think they work really well to wish upon. There's actually some folklore that says if you make a wish on a button and then throw it into a well, the fairies will be happy and they will grant your wish. Although I'm not sure what fairies are doing at the bottom of a well, but you've got to watch out for them. They get everywhere. But I do think they are really good for wishing. You hold them in your palm. You could hold them up to the moon. You could look through the hole and wish. Yeah, really, really good, I think, for wishing on. And particularly, I think, perhaps for children as well. Children would love a wishing button. I think that'd be a really good idea for them. Jane says you could fill the holes in a button with an appropriate herb mixture. They are very tiny holes in some of them, but I get your meaning. You could, with some of the things like rosemary, poke the rosemary bits through the holes in the button. See, we're being so creative here. All these ideas coming out. You do have to sign a disclaimer to say that I can steal all of your ideas to write about. I also think luck. There is folklore that says gifting buttons to newlyweds brings about luck, although a lot of other folklore seems to say that gifting buttons to anyone just seems to be a lucky thing for the person that is the giver of them. So I'd love to be given buttons. Much more than I love being given the pot noodles after the talk I did at Witchfest, and everyone kept giving me pot noodles. I'd much rather have buttons, just so you know. So yes, very good for wishes and for luck. Friendships as well. I've got a nice metal one here. Kay says, aren't there water fairies called sprites? There's all sorts of water fairies. The fairy world is huge, absolutely huge. There are so many different types. There's a whole load of particular water fairies, yes. So it was probably a bit of superstition with wells, because wells have a lot of magic surrounding and superstition surrounding them anyway. But yes, they were very generous fairies that lived at the bottom of the wells. Christine, my kids used to use buttons as money when playing shop. Yep, me too. We'd used to create entire shops in our bedrooms and make such a huge mess. We used to use buttons as well. Kay, you can steal them if I get a discount in the book they're in. Jane is on chocolate buttons. Oh, Jane, I like your way of thinking. Don't put chocolate buttons on your clothing though. I think, yes, friendships, brilliant to use in friendship magic because buttons bring things together. So I would actually probably choose a pink button, I must admit. If I'm working with friendship, I generally go for pink or yellow sometimes, because I think pink works with love, but more on a friendship level. So friendship magic with buttons to bring things together, to bring people together. Connections, obviously, buttons connect things. Makes sense that they can be used in magic when you need to connect something or someone. I think I would probably go for a blue button if I was working connection magic, because there's quite a lot of communication involved in that. Got quite a pretty blue one there. So I would go for blue, I think, when working connection magic, but you've got to work with what colour works for you. And psychometry. I'm never very sure if I pronounced that right. If you've got an old button, I'm pretty sure I remember this being on one of my nan's coats, actually. Anything old jewellery, old items, old buttons work just as well. If it's got a history, you can tap into that history. You can tap into that connection by using your psychic connection. Connect with the energy of button and find out about the previous owner. I mean, I'm pretty sure this was one of my grandmas. So I would use this button to connect with her in spirit. But you can tell the history of an item. If you can connect with it on a psychic level, you can make that connection to the person that owned it or people that owned it. And quite often you can get words or see images about those people or events or places just by tapping into the psychic energy of that item. And I think old buttons are brilliant for that because they hold so much magic. Okay, didn't Nans have huge buttons on her coat? Yes, I think they must have done. I'm sure that was one of hers. So you can connect, you can make a psychic link there to the history of the button by tapping into that. Christine, my mum was suspicious, and when she put a cardigan in a charity bag, she always cut the buttons off things. I have got some folklore about that, actually. Interesting, very interesting. I think as well as sigils, not seagulls, as I like to call them, sigils. This button's already got one on, look. That's my 1980s one. If you've got a flat or a plain button, you can paint or draw a sigil onto the button. You can then sew them onto garments to carry that magic with you, or onto bags, or you can wear them as jewellery. You can paint the sigil on the front, or you can paint it on the back so that you don't see it. It's up to you. But they are brilliant little holders, containers, palettes for sigils to be painted and drawn onto, and then you can carry them with you really easily. So they work really well for sigil magic. Offerings, particularly the more ornate buttons, the sparkly ones, I've got a few diamante ones in here somewhere, would work really well as offerings. There's a little tiny gold one here, which would work really well as an offering. Making offerings on your altar, offerings to deity, nice shiny buttons. Fairies would love the shiny buttons, so use them as offerings. Elements as well. If you've got 4 buttons in 4 different colours, you could associate them with the elements, earth, air, fire, water. Got a blue one here, which would be good for water, a red one for fire. So you could use the buttons on your altar or in ritual to correspond with the 4 elements. Easy to do. Ancestors as well. I mean, I've talked about memories here, and they're obviously, everyone has a lot of memories associated with buttons. So if you've got a button that you know belonged to a family member, you can use it to connect with their specific energy, or put it on your ancestors' altar to honour them. They've got such a huge connection to the ancestors. Kay likes the idea of painted on sigils. Yeah, brilliant, easy to do. Erin says, I should be painting my rune set on buttons. They would make a brilliant rune set, wouldn't they? You'd have to have, I think, you'd have to have a set of buttons all the same colour. But yes, they would make ideal platform. That one looks like the sun. It'd make an ideal platform for making a rune set. Brilliant. Kay's going to raid her mum's button box. Yeah. Hi, Mel. Buttons, bows and bells. Absolutely. And poppets. Maria mentioned poppets at the beginning, but where do we often see buttons in magic? On a poppet in his eye. Poppets often have just one button for an eye. The other one is a stitch. But I've seen them with 2 buttons as well for eyes. So brilliant. They carry that kind of magic, and they work really well for eyes on poppets. Thinking about a rune set, they're brilliant for divination. You could create a fabulous lithomancy set with buttons, whether you go by colour, design, or draw images on them. I think if you've got different buttons, each one associated with different colours or different styles and designs, you could make a brilliant lithomancy set. I found one here. Service Nautique. Okay, that's Navy, isn't it? Service Nautique. Yes, brilliant lithomancy set. So work with divination with them. Third eye. And I just happen to have a button here with the Eye of Horus on it, which is quite bizarre. My daughter's college project. But yeah, there's an Eye of Horus one there. But third eye, you could use a button to represent your third eye and use it in your psychic magic work to open up your third eye to help you connect. Huge amount of magical uses for them. Associate them with what you think they should be associated with. Oh, that's a nice posh one, all covered in material. Lots of different designs, lots of different colours, lots of different magical uses. No limitation really to how you use them. Easy to obtain, and so many memories. So easy to work with. But there is a lot of cases. What's a lithomancy set? Like a rune set, but it can be made with all sorts of things. It can be made with buttons, with different stones, with crystals, with bones, shells, stones. Usually it's a collection of odd things. So you might have a couple of crystals, a couple of bones, shells. If you've seen Pirates of the Caribbean films, Tia Dharma takes her lithomancy set. She shakes it like that and casts it. And it's crab claws and a bone and a shell and a pebble. So lithomancy set is basically a divination set made up with lots of odd different items, lots of different bits and pieces. And you read it depending on what item falls where and that kind of thing. Christine loves wooden buttons. We've got one there, wooden one. Jane says, buttons have been handled a hell of a lot, so they must contain lots of different energies. Yes, absolutely. They do. They carry so much energy with them. They are just perfect magical items. When you're working with the psychic connection, if you're trying to find a history, you may have to sift out some of it, because there might be a lot of different energies on there, depending on how many different people have handled it. Christine says, make charm bags and add lots of buttons to pick out and do divination with them and dropping on a picture or chart. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Leslie needs to start a button box now for her family. All my grandmother's things were cleared before I got a chance to have a look. Sentimental things. Oh, that's a shame, Leslie. Yes, do start it. Start your own tradition. But I've got some folklore here, which some of it is funny. Some of it is bizarre. Um, Losing a button from your shoe was considered bad luck. This was obviously back in the day when shoes were fastened with buttons. To remedy this situation, you had to spit over your left shoulder or spit inside your left shoe, just to be sure. If you buttoned up your shirt the wrong way, we've probably all done that on some occasion, you had to leave it buttoned that way all day. Otherwise, it was bad luck to rebutton it. I'm wondering if that goes with putting things on back to front, because I've done that before now. Although other folklore says if you button your shirt incorrectly to avoid bad luck, you have to take it off immediately and redo it. So I guess it depends what folklore you listen to. And I'm sure we're familiar with the old chant, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, with cherry stones usually. You could apparently discover what your future husband would be by counting buttons. The rhyme was doctor, lawyer, merchant, cheat, or rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief, doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. Although I think I would probably rig that one and count how many buttons I needed to get the one I wanted. Kay says you could burn into the wood with a design of your choice. Yes, if you've got wooden buttons, you could do a bit of pyrography on it, couldn't you? Jane, of course, losing a shoe button was bad luck. You'd probably lose the shoe as well. Yeah. Christine, the way that clothes are buttoned one way for men and the other for female. Yes, yeah, it's weird, isn't it, that one's buttoned one way and one's buttoned the other way. I think I remember something about that. It was something to do with women's items were buttoned the opposite way because women of money had a maid. So the women that had money didn't actually button the things up themselves. So it was put reverse so that the maid could do it. So it was the opposite way around because the maid was dressing them. So obviously we all need maids. That's what it's for. If you are, let's have a look. If a bachelor asked you to sew a button on, you would do it. Apparently, once you had completed the sewing task for him, inside of a year, he would be your husband. Presuming you actually liked him, of course, otherwise you'd probably avoid the sewing. Got some old buttons and a new coat? Don't sew them on. Putting old buttons onto a new coat was considered bad luck, although I think old buttons are brilliant. And if I had a nice coat and didn't like the buttons, I'd definitely put old buttons on it. Depends how mindful you are of luck and folklore, I guess. If you're wearing a smart business suit and a button comes off, your luck is about to change. Although folklore doesn't seem to state which way your luck is about to change. Whether it's for good or bad, I have no idea. And if you lose 3 buttons in one go, what are you doing to lose 3 buttons in one go? But either you need a new or a bigger suit, because, you know. But folklore suggests that if you lose 3 buttons in one go, you can expect a funeral to happen in the near future, and chances are it will be yours. So don't lose 3 buttons in one go. Wearing a coat that has 8 buttons on it is apparently very lucky. But then other folklore suggests that having a garment with an odd number of buttons is much luckier than having even number of buttons. In fact, they went to the point of if their coat had 6 buttons on it, they would sew another button on it just to make it lucky. Anyway, find a button on the ground, pick it up, check the number of holes and put it in your pocket. You will have good luck for as many days as the number of holes in the button, unless it was a black button, in which case leave it on the ground because picking up a black button is said to bring bad luck. I hope you're taking notes because this is all very complicated. Eva says, there's a German woman who makes her own yarn-covered buttons for sale. Amazing patterns, and the technique would be amazing for colour magic as well as string magic. Brilliant. You can buy some really lovely hand-painted buttons as well. Rachel says, we have a family saying, if you do your buttons up wrong, it's called a bibby jud. My husband's grandfather knew a man who always had his buttons up wrong, and that was his name. So you've done a bibby jud when you do your buttons up wrong. These are fascinating, aren't they? We need to hang on to these old folklore sayings and traditions. It's brilliant. But finding a button on the ground could mean that a letter is on the way, or actually 2 or 4, depending on how many holes the button has. So if you find a button and it's got 4 holes, expect 4 letters. Although letters are becoming a bit of a rarity these days, aren't they? To stop someone gossiping about you, bite the top button on your shirt, and that person will be rewarded with a blistered tongue. There you go. Having a full jar of buttons is supposed to bring good luck. Oh, nearly full, nearly full. Never sew a button on when you're wearing the garment. It is considered unlucky. I have actually done that before when I've been in a hurry, noticed the buttons hanging off and sewn it on. To ensure safe travels throughout your day, do up an odd number of buttons on your clothing. And the last piece I have, if a funeral procession passes by, touch one of your buttons to ward against bad luck and remain connected to the living world. So even folklore suggests that buttons have a connection to the afterlife, to the other world. So going back to the idea of putting it in your journey or working with it for journeying and hedge riding, there's a definite other world connection with the buttons there. I'm going to have such fun today. I'm not going to get any work done. Now that I've actually opened up the button jar, I've been putting my buttons all day. So have a think about it. If you've got a button jar, do keep the family tradition going on. There are so many memories connected with it. For me, going right back to my grandma, and I say I'm sure there's buttons in here that are even older than her. Work with it in your magic. They are truly magical things and so easy to work with. Jane says a Pandora's jar. Yeah, we don't want to think about Pandora and opening a jar of buttons, but they are really, really magical. And there are some beautiful ones out there, and you can tailor them to your own magic. You can draw on them, you can write on them, you can do all sorts of things. Button key rings with folklore. Yeah, that's a good idea. You can make all sorts of things with them. Pop them in your spell pouches, pop them in your witch's bottles, pop them in your purse, your pockets, sew them on with the intent of magic. They are really, really underrated magical items that pretty much everybody has at least one or two of, and brilliant for working magic with. So anyone's got any last questions about buttons or anything in particular, pop them in the comments and I'll run through the agenda for the next few weeks. So this Sunday in the Kitchen Witch Coven Facebook group, and I'm going to be really funky here, that one, we have Waffling Witches chat, myself and the Hearth Guardians, and we're going to be talking about working with the menopause from a magical point of view. I have a feeling it's 4 o'clock. Yes, 4 o'clock in the Kitchen Witch Coven group. So do join us there for a chat about menopause and magic. Then we have 5th and 6th of June. I know that's a little way off yet. Moon Books, published by my publisher, is running a 2-day event on Facebook, online, free, open to everyone. But there's going to be 2 whole days of talks from all the various authors from Moon Books. There'll be individual talks and there'll be panel talks as well, which should be really fantastic. And you will get the chance to ask all of the authors questions online as well. So that's the 5th and 6th of June. So do put that in your diary. It's going to be great fun. Usual Friday morning talks will continue, obviously, and I will put all the details from today's talk up on my blog, on my website, up there. So all of today's talk details will go up on the website, so you don't have to remember it all. But fascinating buttons. You know, I was using them without even thinking about it. I just often added buttons to things. And the other day when myself and the girls were crafting individually from our own homes, the lovely Ness put buttons on one of her jars that she was decorating just because it felt like the right thing to do. So I think there is such a huge magic to them. You know, work with them, see how you get on. Very, very magical for little or no money. So there you go. Button magic. Thank you as always for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure. I have been overwhelmed with button hysteria. I'll have to go and ground now. by eating chocolate buttons to release this magic button energy, because I think it sent me a little bit la. Do work with magic buttons. It is such a fascinating area to work with. Thank you, as always, for joining me and your company, your presence, and also your input, because I've learned a few things today and there's been some really good ideas. So hopefully we can share and learn from each other's. It will be up on the blog later on today. So thank you, guys. Go and find your button boxes, go and have some memories, or go and start your own button box and create your own memories. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone. So lovely to see you all, and I will see you all again soon.